Welcome to this edition of Supervisors Report with Nate Miley. I'm your host, Dr. Marshall Kamina. Welcome, Supervisor Miley.
Thank you. It's a pleasure being here.
I'm sure glad to see you. What topics or announcements would you like to share with our viewers today?
Well, now that we're beginning to enter into the latter part of the spring and into the summer, I just want to basically wish everybody a safe summer and go out and relax and get some sun, some fresh air, take care of yourself, take care of your family, be safe, and do things that bring you joy.
Amen. The early county budget sessions are about to start. Do you have some preferences as to what you would like to see passed in our district?
Well, yes, the county will. We've been looking at the budget for a while, and now that we've gotten the May revise from the governor, I think the state's looking at a $16 billion deficit. Alameda County, I think our budget gap will be about $100 million. $100 million is a lot more than the last few years, because our deficit the last few years has been more like 50 million, 60 million, 40 million, thereabouts. But this is $100 million, so it's going to be a little bit more of a challenge to balance the budget, but we will balance our budget once again towards the latter part of June. And the big thing that we're concerned about with the budget is whether or not there'll be additional implications as a result of any of the actions taking place by the federal government to, cut services, to deal with efficiencies, things of that nature. That might cause us additional consternation. And then obviously with the state having a $16 billion deficit, if my recollection's correct from what I've heard from Governor Newsom, how the state budgets balances its budget could have implications for the county. Because, when the state gets, coughs, we get a cold. We feel the impacts of that because counties are arms of the state, and most of our money that we use to provide services are categorical and mandated from the feds and the state. So if the feds and the state have issues, it could have implications for the county. So I'm just hoping that we don't have any major trauma that will result in additional implications for the county beyond what we anticipate presently with about $100 million budget deficit for Alameda County. And our budget's about $4.6 billion. So $100 million isn't necessarily that huge, but it is significant.
Well, is this increase in cost as a result of more people who moved in or people getting it more eligible who are already here?
I think it's just a factor of the cost of living, and maybe in the county administrator, her office will actually, we have a budget work group meeting today on, what is today? May the 15th. We have a budget work group session, and then we'll have the full budget presented to us in June, and we'll kind of get a better sense of what are some of the factors that are driving our deficit at this point in time. I do recall that there's been a slowdown maybe in the real estate industry, although things are beginning to pick up. I think that's a factor. Obviously, what's going on both in the federal government and the political politics too, with the tariffs that the Trump administration has established, that's causing consternation for the local economy as well. So there are different factors that are driving our deficit, and we'll get a more thorough picture of that in June when the county administrator presents the budget to the full Board of Supervisors.
We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back on this edition of Supervisors Report with Nate Miley in just a moment. Welcome back to this edition of Supervisors Report with Nate Miley. Supervisor Miley, both you and Supervisor Halbert see the necessity of a united collaborative effort and a sense of urgency to bring about lasting change to address homelessness and mental health challenges in Alameda County. Can you provide some examples of what is being done or any services that are available?
Sure. You know, homelessness, affordable housing, mental health, they continue to be some of the top priorities for the county. Clearly, we're looking at, Measure W was a tax measure that was passed in 2020, and it was challenged in court, and we finally won the legal suit against Measure W. So we've accumulated the county a good $400 million, and some more money will be coming in as well that we can use to allocate towards services for both homelessness and mental illness. The Measure W money is a general tax money, so we can provide that money to go towards shelters, to go to shallow subsidies to keep people housed. We can use that money to provide preventive mental health services, because with Proposition 1 passing, money from the Mental Health Act was put into housing under Prop 1. And that money that we were using in mental health used to go into prevention. So with Measure W, we can use some of that money to go towards prevention, mental health services prevention, which is extremely important. And a lot of the county's services when it comes to both homelessness and mental health, we deliver those through our community-based organizations. And we have a lot of community-based providers throughout the county that receive funding from the county to deliver services to the homeless and those who are mentally ill. Now, there is a connection between homelessness and mental illness, because obviously the longer people are on the streets, they're subjected more to substance abuse, they're subjected more to mental illness, and then obviously they can't get well if they continue to be homeless. So there's a natural connection between homelessness and mental illness, substance abuse. So I anticipate that the Board of Supervisors is going to use a good chunk of the Measure W money to put towards homeless services and mental illness. We're looking in the Tri-Valley to see what other resources we can allocate to provide, like showers and other services to those who are homeless in the Tri-Valley. We have some of those services in Livermore, but we like to provide more services in Pleasanton as well, because it's hard for people to get from, let's say, Dublin and Pleasanton, Livermore for some services. So working with Abode, working with La Clinica, working with BACS, working with organizations like that and others, that's how we're going to get a better handle on both the homeless issue as well as the mental health problem that continues to cause us a lot of difficulty and challenges, not just in Alameda County, but elsewhere.
Thank you. Well, aside from the issues that you just mentioned, are you finding there's one or two particular issues that take an inordinate amount of your time?
An inordinate amount of my time. Well, I do think probably the homeless issue takes a lot of our time to try to provide services to those who are homeless, because a lot of times we either don't have enough housing for them or enough shelters for them, enough permanent supportive housing and services for them, and that does take up time. And we know at the point in time count, a lot of the homeless are located, a vast majority are located in Oakland, but there are homeless in Pleasanton and the Tri-Valley. I think in Pleasanton, the count is around a few hundred or thereabouts, just in Pleasanton alone. And, recently with the fair track having to not continue with racing at the fair, that produced a need for additional delivery of services to the population who's providing horse racing, grooming, training at the fairground. Those folks also needed our ability to provide services. So I think this whole issue around homelessness it continues to take a lot of our time and attention. I don't want to be, what's the word, remiss, but clearly we also need to continue to look at public safety because we need to ensure that our communities continue to be safe so that folks feel comfortable shopping, recreating, living in our communities and visiting and going throughout Alameda County, no matter what part of the county they choose to live or visit in.
Thank you. That was very thorough. Let me ask you, please, what is your opinion of birthright citizenship? Is it an issue in your district?
I know we do have some people who are immigrants who are in my district, District 4, and throughout the county. And I think the law clearly allows for birthright citizenship when people who are come to this country but are born in this country, but they were immigrants in this, and they had that immigrant status, but they were born in the United States, they receive citizenship. I think that's something that's been well established under the law in our country, and I think we should continue to uphold birthright citizenship. I don't think we should tinker with that, but I do feel we need to continue to ensure that folks who are, coming to the country illegally, or people who are creating acts of criminality, who are immigrants, they need to be dealt with. They need to be prosecuted. They need to be sent back to their countries of origin so that they are not causing difficulties here in the United States. Now, the other thing I feel strongly about, though, is refugees. Refugees who are leaving countries that are tormenting them because of either their politics, their race, or war, like in Afghanistan. We need to continue to provide safe havens for refugees. Those who help us in other countries to deal with some of the conflicts the United States has been in. Those refugees need to be allowed safe havens in this country. And then obviously people who are fleeing for their lives because of other situations, whether it's drug cartels or other acts of political oppression, we need to allow refugees to come to our country and have safe havens.
Thank you. The Alameda County Fire Department Training Center project was started through vision in part by former District 1 Supervisor Scott Haggerty. I wonder if you could give us an update on this project and where the center will be located.
Yes, the training center just broke ground a little while ago. It'll be located in Dublin, near the counties, or not the counties, but near the Highway Patrol facility in Dublin, their office, as well as the county's East County courthouse that's in Dublin. There's a plot of land there. It'll be located there. And this training facility will be a state-of-the-art facility that will provide training for not only Alameda County firefighters, but for other firefighters throughout the county and throughout the region. They'll be able to come and make use of this training facility. So I'm very, very pleased that Supervisor Haggerty, when he was on the board, had the foresight to work with Alameda County Fire to get the resources, the money necessary so that we could have a new training facility built for Alameda County Fire in Dublin.
And lastly, do you feel as though you're getting enough help from the governor's office?
Oh, no, that's a loaded question. Do I feel we're getting enough help from the governor's office? We could always use more help from the governor's office. And as I said, with the state having a $16 billion deficit, if my recollection is correct, I'm just hoping that in balancing the budget, the governor and the state legislature, they don't balance their budget by imposing additional mandates on the backs of the counties, because we really can't take on additional mandates. So I'm hoping that they'll be able to balance their budget without causing more difficulty for us here at the local level.
Well, Supervisor, I am so delighted to hear from you and see you again. I want to thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
I'm Dr. Marshall Kamina. Join us for the next episode of Supervisors Report with Nate Miley, right here on Tri-Valley TV. Thank you for watching.